Well, it's a great day to be a Razorback. Excited to add some new family members to the Razorback family. We got better today as a program, without a doubt. The new additions to an already extremely strong class for 2019 added Traylon Burks from Warren High School, big receiver, linebacker, 6'3", 225. Just been a fantastic player. Obviously suffered an injury this year, but a great young man, loves the Hogs, and that excites me. Jalen Cataline from Mansfield Legacy High School in the state of Texas. One of the top high school football players that I think I've ever seen, in the top 5 for sure. Fantastic player, plays safety, can play a lot of different positions. But I've been watching high school football for a very long time and recruiting for a very long time, and this young man is one of the best that I've seen. He played a lot of positions. Hudson Henry from Pulaski Academy and in Little Rock, obviously big tight end for us. We know obviously his family and the legacy that they have, and you know what Coach Kelly's done there, and man, it's just been phenomenal of this young man, 6'5", 235. I feel like that he's going to come in and make a major impact. And watching him and the success that he's had. Amonte Spivey, running back from Central High School in Phoenix City, Alabama. A traditional powerhouse. Won a state championship this year. Absolutely a dominant program in that state. We've got great connections there. This definitely continues to open up a pipeline to get kids out of the state of Alabama. But I'm extremely excited about him. 6'1", 208 running back, a big physical back. We're excited about. We added some other additions to our program today. Obviously, we're always looking for winners. Guys that can come in that love the Hogs, that love being a part of what we're building. Hudson Clark, a safety from Highland Park High School. He won 3-time state champion, and he's contributed in all of those, and just a huge impact player. Logan Callison, offensive lineman from right here, right up the road here at Shiloh Christian. A young man that we're extremely excited about, that loves the Hogs, 6'4", 300. I feel like he's going to come here and add some depth. Logan Orr from Jonesboro. I always love going over into Jonesboro. Got great relationships there, and to be able to bring a linebacker in here, another young man that loves the Hogs. Big linebacker, 6'2", 220. He's going to come in and give us some depth. Drew Vest, which is already on campus here, big offensive lineman, 6'6", 300, from Searcy High School here in Arkansas. Another young man that's, when you look at his family heritage, they love the Hogs. He's got his family and grandfather, and I mean, it just goes way back. And then another one from Pulaski Academy there in Little Rock, a fantastic football player. As we watch this young man, and to get him and his family up here, John David White, wide receiver, 5'11", 180, is dynamic with the ball in his hands, a great route runner. So just to see those guys and to watch each and every one of these families as they committed to the Razorbacks is really special. And I've said that over and over. I've shared that with our team. The love of the Hogs, we got to have that. And these guys
just talking to them and been with them throughout the whole process. You know, those guys stay loyal to me, so I had to stay loyal to them. Loyalty is a big thing for me. I mean, people are skeptical about the season, but we got the number 18 recruiting class in the country, so we're going to come in strong. Guys like Darren McFadden, you know, if you can just get on the level of those guys, I mean, your name will be remembered forever, so I'm just trying to get on that level. For the next 3-4 years, I'll be attending the University of Arkansas.
Welcome in. It's our February 7th edition, our Thursday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, and we let you hear our National Signing Day audio as we met with Coach Chad Moore. It's very exciting, and then we let you hear a tidbit about the young man that I thought was probably the most important get of the class. Young man I think is going to be real special. Monte Spivey talked about being in the same, mentioned in the same breath here during his career with Darren McFadden and those guys. Also, heard what Chad Morris had to say, how big it is to get, a Monte in the fold. And I want to bring in my co-host, producer, Demetrius Johnson. Demetrius, we were at yesterday's National Signing Day press conference up at the Smith Center at the University of Arkansas. I heard what Chad had to say. Talk about your general take of this class. And also want to make a note, if you want to chime in and talk about the signing day class, what's your general take on Arkansas finished 23rd, signed 25 very, very good football players? You can do so, and you can reach us here at 479-601-7400. But over to my co-host, Demetrius, what was your take in yesterday's talk as Chad, spoke in depth on each and every one of the individuals that decided to be Razorbacks for 2019? I mean,
Chad just looks a lot more comfortable than he did a year ago. He looks like you can tell he's put the time and work in, and the results show. So I think he's pretty confident in the direction we're going. I think what he really made an emphasis on is player development. Now it's one thing to get the players on campus, but it's another thing to develop them, and I think that's one thing he really emphasized in yesterday's press conference.
The thing that I really, when you break down this class, Demetrius' size and the addition of speed. You look at speed guys: Greg Brooks Jr., Devin Bush, Malik Chavis, TQ Jackson, Trey Knox, Jalen Catalon. These are all speed guys, either on the defensive side of the ball. But when you look at that, Coach Morris said last year, speed was going to have to be something that they really went out and got. Do you think that with what they would, you think they got a good start with the speed they were able to bring in this class?
Oh, for sure. Chad Morris always says either you have speed or you're chasing it, and I think they did do the first step of really addressing it on both sides of the ball. Most guys kind of really focus on one side of the ball, but I think he really did a great job balancing it, especially at the positions of need. When you look at linebacker, corner, the running back position, and the defensive line position, I really think every player at skill positions brought an element of speed that we were missing from last year's team.
Two big important pieces I feel be wide receiver Traylon Burks, and also sensational defensive back athlete Jalen Catalon. Both of these young guys, individuals, suffered senior season-ending injuries. From all intents and reports, both will be back 100%, as Chad stated in the fall camp. When they arrive for August. But when you talk about these two, these are special. Chad made a statement about Jalen Catalon, and when he said it, it kind of threw me back. He called Jalen one of the 5 best high school football players that he's ever seen, either coaching at the collegiate level or the high school level. When that's pretty big praise, don't you think, Demetrius, coming from a coach that's seen the likes of it. He mentioned Vince Young, Deshaun Watson, multiple other athletes. That's pretty high praise for a guy. What do you think, the level is, expectation, when the fans hear something like that of Jalen Catalon?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, anytime you mention the greatest Razorback to ever put on a jersey, Darren McFadden, and you put them in the likes of another person, that's a lot of pressure and a lot of that you have to live up to when people put your name, especially with Darren McFadden, with him being entered into the College Football Hall of Fame this year. I think it's even greater pressure. And I think the thing about Jalen is figuring out what he's going to play and where he's going to play. I think he does possess all the physical attributes and the mindset and the physicality, but I think it's just figuring out where exactly he can make the biggest impact for the Arkansas Razorbacks.
I mean, this is a young man that was as a junior the area's defensive 5A player of the year. Played quarterback there at Legacy, also doubled as a free safety, punt return. Did a lot of multiple things, and I think that's something that's really gonna, be very beneficial for the University of Arkansas. I know we'll let you hear audio probably tomorrow of Jalen, as we caught up with Jalen through some media outlets in the Dallas area, and he's going to talk about just football, what he's excited to do in Fayetteville, and also there was a question posed to him about baseball. We'll let you hear what Jalen had to say tomorrow in regards to that. But when you get these dual sport athletes, multiple athletes in this class play double sports. That's what Chad's always gone out and recruited. What does that say for the precedent here at Arkansas for how they're going to go about, recruiting multiple athletes? I know, do you look also for a little basketball in your offensive and defensive linemen, or what's the combination that you're going to try when you look at the positions if you're trying to recruit those double sport athletes? If you're a head coach, Demetrius, for offensive linemen, what do you want the second sport to be?
Preferably probably basketball with being a big man, because then you're for sure that they have some background in footwork. But the sport really doesn't matter to me. I want to know with the position that they're going to play, does their sport translate and correlate with what I'm going to have them doing? I don't care if they went out and played golf or tennis. I want to know, can they be a football player, and how will they impact the University of Arkansas? And I think with the situation Chad Morris is in, he needs players that can come in and immediately make an impact in either from a competitive standpoint or a starting standpoint as being on that first team. But he has to have guys that really elevate his team. He can't have players that really make a stalemate and kind of keep us at a standstill. We have to have players that continuously come in to elevate us as a program.
Well, we caught up with a player that came in and elevated Arkansas on the basketball court Tuesday night as he was able to come through with the winning bucket. We caught up with he and Daniel Gafford following the Vandy post game. Keyshawn Embry-Smith and Daniel Gafford. They're going to talk about the shot and just what they'll have to do to continue on to give themselves their best chance to win. Then when we come back, we'll talk even more about this recruiting class. If you want to chime in about the upcoming events with the men's basketball traveling to South Carolina, how do you think that'll shake out? What's the outlook in the next 3 or so games? Arkansas sitting at 5-4. You can do so if you want to chime in on recruiting. How do you see this 25-man group? Is it a strong group? Did Coach Morris and staff get all their needs? Or are there some positions you'd like to see them do a little bit better in? You can call us at 479-601-7400. Here's that player post game. This on the Hill with Pat Jenkins. Okay, yes,
in your hands. Can you kind of tell us how you saw it from your vantage point?
It was shot clock was going down, and I was just like, "Hey, we got to get it up." And I was confident in me shooting it, so I felt it coming off my hands. I was like, "Oh yeah, it got to be good."
Yes, for both guys, I guess Keyshawn, the perimeter shooting you've kind of provided the last 2 games. How much has that been a lift for you guys, and I guess what the feeling after you hit the shot late?
I just try to do anything to help my team win. Anything we need, and that's just what I do is shooting the perimeter outside. So whatever it takes to get the team win.
This is 4th straight SEC win after a 1-4 start. Just how good does it feel, and what do you think's been the key to the resurgence?
Our key to, the wins that we've had is mainly our defense. We've been getting killed on the boards, obviously, but, when we have a mindset, get consecutive stops down the stretch, it helps us a lot because, sometimes our defense leads to our offense. And, that helps a lot because, if we keep another team from scoring like they want to score, we can score like we want to score. That's what just like piggyback on what he said, us getting stops, that's all we have to do because we know we can find a way to score, so that's what we got to do is get consecutive stops and just put the foot down. When we got a big lead, we got to close it out,
and just every single game we got to stay humble and hungry just for the next game, not, you know, save it for midnight and next to the next game.
Hey, Keith, Daniel called that a miracle shot. Would you call that a miracle shot? And how good did it feel?
I don't feel like I call it a miracle shot. I mean, probably like 2 practices ago, we gamed it like that. But, I be confident in what I do. I'm confident in shooting the ball, so I felt it going in.
You weren't involved that much.
So everybody knows the miracle shot. I was just, just joking around with him. And, Keyshawn's a great shooter. And I found him and he knocked it down for me. It's still a miracle shot though.
How did it feel when you hit it? The game wasn't over. There was still some time left. But how did it feel to hit a shot?
Oh, it felt great. It felt so great. Took the lead. We just had to continue and just finish out. That was the main thing. Finish out the whole game. The game wasn't over still, so that was the main point, is finishing out the game.
You can point back at me when you shot it.
I did.
Point back at me.
I did.
I can see it.
I did.
Dan, you had 23 at LSU and then 28 more tonight. Do you feel like you're playing your best ball right now? You feel like you're pretty locked in?
At the beginning of this game, I wasn't playing my best, but the free throws were falling for me, so that brought my confidence up. Just trying to have the same mindset I had at LSU. I was trying to have the same mindset for this game, but it never happened. So I had to take other areas and have put them in effect. So I had knocked down free throws. I got my confidence because I got that first dunk that boosted my confidence. So, and then when it came to being one-on-one in the post, that that's a no-brainer. Just get it to me and I'll find a way to score it. And it was a lot of guys that had to help me tonight because I got out of my game because I wasn't rebounding the ball, I wasn't getting defensive stops, I was getting scored on, all of that. But most of the guys on the team that told me to keep my head up, and that helped me out a lot. So thanks to them.
Welcome back to our Thursday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. As we recap, we recap as we didn't have a show yesterday, so we recapped a little bit of the Arkansas-Vandy, Arkansas's big 3-point win there in Bud Walton on Tuesday night to go to 5-4, 14-8 on the season over the Vanderbilt Commodores. Arkansas travels this weekend to Columbia, South Carolina to take on the South Carolina Gamecocks, coming in at 6-3 in the SEC. But also too, you hear audio from Keyshawn Embry-Smith and Daniel Gafford. What I look at when I look at this team is a team, and Keyshawn had mentioned it, they're starting to understand their roles. He stated he came in to do what Coach Anderson wanted him to do, and I think that's what all these young men are starting to do. These guys took 7 charges in Tuesday night's ball game, which lets me know when you're taking 7 charges, you made up the ultimate defensive commitment. You're giving up your body for the betterment of the team, and I think there's a direct correlation that where now teams that want to drive, as they start looking at the game plan, then that becomes a situation where you don't want to drive because Arkansas will be known to step in there and take charges. So that takes a little bit of the playbook out if you're the offensive team that's preparing to play the Razorbacks defensively. And, that's something I think really, really, really is going to help this team. But also, too, the way they're getting the ball in, Demetrius, to Daniel Gafford, 6'10", 6'11", soon to be NBA star. Daniel shooting 30 of 40 over the last 4 games, averaging 20 points. This is grown man basketball. 23 this past weekend. The LSU comes back home and gets 28 and 9. Monster performance. And, Demetrius, it looks like to me when the ball goes into Daniel Gafford, good things always happen. Either he's going to the free throw line, he gets a dunk, or he kicks it out to, those wide open shooters like Mason, Embry Simpson, and Isaiah Joe. Is this a recipe, if they continue to do this, for more wins going forward?
Definitely. I think that's something Mike Anderson was hitting on earlier this year. Give the ball to Daniel. And we all know that Daniel is that X factor, a.k.a. best player on our team. So I think it behooves of us to really give him the ball. I think that's his role on the team, is being the primary scorer. Right. So I really think guys are just getting comfortable, understanding that they're the second and third outlet. I think that was the problem at the beginning of the year. I wouldn't even say the beginning of the year. I would say towards that little middle run where they started, giving away a couple of games at Bud Walton. But I think it was more so, I think it came from guys really just trying to understand where they fit in, playing behind Gafford, and when it was time for them to cut the switch on when he wasn't scoring, to go be that scorer.
And I think half of that's just the maturation. That's my favorite word for those that listen here and view us each and every day. But it's true. It's the maturation process. It's understanding the trust of one another. Like I said, where you know, Keyshawn or Isaiah Joe, or Mason Jones, they have to, get used to giving Dan in the post entry passes, where to get him the ball, and understanding what angle is best for Dan to do some damage both offensively and in the passing game. And I think that's something that defensive rotations, you have to be able to trust and communicate with your the other 4 guys out on the court. So all this is just, it's a process. It's something I believe I watched this team go through. Yeah, they had a very tumultuous January as it went. I think it went like 3-5 in for the month, but they learned a lot of lessons. The games that they 2 weeks ago at Texas Tech, they didn't win that game. A week later at LSU, found a way to win. Several days later here in Bud Walton, found a way to win. But when you go back in the month of January, Florida, LSU, they didn't find too many ways, because they were still going through that process of understanding roles, gaining trust, and then carrying out the game plan and believing in it wholeheartedly. But we know a young fella that we caught up with, Coach Mike Anderson. We caught up with him post Vanderbilt, and here's what Coach A had to say. And following Coach A, we also going to hear a little bit from soon-to-be defensive tackle in 2019 signing. They call him Bubba down in the Warren area, but his name is Marcus Miller. We're here Big Bubba, and what the reasons were and what he thinks the future of Razorback football will be under Chad Morris. Here's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479.
Okay, well, first of all, Vanderbilt and Coach Drew, I thought they came in and they played their tails off. They had a great first half, and defensively we couldn't do anything with them. I thought the second half we were a lot better, and we had a nice little rhythm in the game with our defense. I think they made 2 buckets to start the second half, and I thought our defense was really engaging. Those were like on stickbacks or offensive rebound. But I've been around in this business long enough to know when you come off of an emotional win, which is what we did, as a coach, you worry about that next game in terms of how your team's going to come out. And I thought we came out, we didn't have that energy that we've been playing with on defense. We didn't. And then it transferred the same way on offense. We went a while without scoring. And then, of course, Isaiah, once the tempo picked up, I thought he was able to get a nice rhythm. Dan got to the free throw line. They packed it in there on him, so he was able to get to the free throw line. And we got some of their guys in foul trouble. I thought that was big in the first half. The Lee kid was a really good player. Then I thought come out in the second half, I thought our energy was a lot better. Was a lot better. And in SEC games, everybody's good. They got a talented team, and the 3-point line always keeps you in game. They got an and one, then I think they made a couple of threes, and before you know it, a 10-point lead kind of evaporates. And so now it's back and forth, and the team that makes plays is going to have a chance to win. I thought we did had some big plays defensively. Gabe steals a big steal for us. And then I thought the shot to Keyshawn was big. And I thought these guys, again, I thought they took another step in terms of really becoming the team we want to be. They didn't panic. They had their poise, and again, so it was a good win for us. And appreciate our fans. They were fantastic. They stayed in there till the game was over. And just think about Keyshawn, a freshman. He turned it down earlier, that same shot, and then he nails the biggest one. And of course, free throws was the difference in this game tonight. You think about the free throw line and our defense, especially in the second half. That was huge in this game here.
Yeah, Mike, on that possession where Keyshawn gave you the lead.
What attracted you to Arkansas?
When I went there, I made a couple visits, felt like home. I mean, they took me in, felt real good. And I think we're going to have a good program coming up. Coach Morris, I think he's a good coach, and and everything.
What's it going to be like being up in Arkansas with Traylon over next
It's going to be a good deal. We've been playing football since we was in Pee Wee together, so I mean, might as well play college together.
Just, over the last decade or so, I mean, there's been a couple Warren kids that have gone up to the University of Arkansas, Jerry Sprague and Chris Bragg and those guys. Just, did you get a chance to talk to those guys and what the experience is like up in Arkansas?
Yes, sir, and they said it felt good, so I mean, we talked about it and we made our choice, and we're happy about it.
What excites you about playing this defense led by John Chavis? What excites you?
I mean, he's a good coach, and I think we'll make a lot of plays on it.
The suit here. What's the story behind the suit?
we were supposed to. We had got one together. We were supposed to wear it together, but I guess we didn't.
He chickened out?
Yeah.
Wow. What happened?
I don't know.
Where do you find this online? Like, where do you begin to say, I want to wear this today?
First, they had them in Walmart, and then in Clarksville. So, and then we looked online. We found one. We found one for me and Traylon.
Will you wear this again?
I don't know. Probably on the game day.
How big is that jacket?
It's a 2X.
2X.
Welcome back. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. And real quick, we give a big shout out to our sponsors, Lindsay and Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers. The Baymont Hotel, located at 735 South Shiloh Drive, and Locomotion. It's located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall. And you heard audio post-game from the Indy victory for Coach Mike Anderson, and also to new and soon-to-be 2019 defensive tackle, Arkansas signee out of Warren, Arkansas, Marcus Miller. They call him Bubba. So get used to that name, Bubba. When you hear and see Bubba's size, Demetrius, I mean, young man has all the measurables. I believe he chose Arkansas over the likes of Alabama's, Tennessee's, multiple other programs. Talk about, Marcus and what he can do. I know it was earlier, several months ago, had been talked about and being rumored if they didn't sign the 6, they were after possibly moving over to the offensive line class. But this guy, to me, if given the opportunity, Demetrius can really, really, really impact that defensive line, not only next year, but many years down the road. What's your take on Big Bubba?
I think Bubba's going to come in right away and really make an impact. I think he's going to make a splash. Our guy, Byron Jenkins, really is high on him. Byron's been on me all year talking about Big Bubba and how, Nick Saban was down there to see Bubba. And so, anytime Nick makes a personal visit to come see you play, you must be something special. So I think Chad Moore's got a diamond in the rough, and guys will really see this guy on Sunday with years to come.
6'5", 300 pounds is a power forward in basketball. And there I go. There again. We're talking about two-sport athletes, so by playing power forward in basketball, you have to have some pretty exceptional feet. And I think that's what, when you watch film, that's what's going to jump out at you about Bubba Miller, is that his strength, his quickness, and he moves a lot more agile for a guy 6'5", 300 pounds than what you would think. And like you said, Demetrius, when Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide, Jeremy Pruitt, Tennessee, and multiple programs, he chose the Razorbacks over Missouri, Tennessee, and like I said, Alabama, multiple other suitors this young man had. And, I'll say this. He's a 4-star if he's at a school where their high school program, is really a proponent and an encouragement of kids going to a lot of different camps, combines. Marcus and Traylon were not privy to those. Those guys just, whatever they got based on coaches coming to the high school. But had he been out on the combine circuit, you're talking about a guy that I believe could have been easily a 4 or 5-star and way more highly recruited and talked about. So that's just my take on Bubba Miller. When you also break this class down, Demetrius, the size jumps out. You got Marcus at 6'5", Chibuzi 6'7", Myron Cunningham, he's 6'6", Dylan Rathke, he's 6'5". I mean, a lot of size, but yet you're talking about guys on the offensive and defensive lines that can bend and are real agile. I mean, isn't that the recipe in the SEC for what we've seen, opposing teams bringing to the stadium to versus these Razorbacks?
Definitely, guys that really have the size and speed to protect that edge. That was something I think Arkansas has always kind of had that weak proponent at since we probably lost Trey Flowers and that Phi line area and that Chris Smith Those are probably our last true defensive ends that we had. No disrespect to Rambo, but I think Rambo was more of like a hybrid pass rusher.
No, not more like was a hybrid.
Was a hybrid pass rusher. But I think these guys are going to be a every down defensive linemen, guys that can pass rush and get pressure on the run. So I think these are guys that really can come in and make an immediate impact. And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in one of these games you see freshmen all across the defensive line. I would not be surprised at all.
The guy that I think is going to be the surprise of the whole class on the defense side of the ball has to be Enoch Jackson. When I look at this individual football player, he reminds me of McDonald, the defensive lineman there for the Los Angeles Rams. He has a motor, exceptional quickness. Leverage is something that you don't see very often. He too had a lot of suitors: Clemson's, Texas, Michigan State's, Texas Tech's, and he also chose to come here and be a part of what I feel is going to be a very, very good class, a class that's going to start to put Arkansas on the national scene. And I think that's something when you also look at this class, I think it was a big selling point, is to be able to come here to a program and start, the resurrection, kind of wake up the sleeping giant. That's another G word, ain't it, Demetrius? Wake them up. Is that the word y'all use nowadays?
Let's stay woke, but you was close enough.
Yeah, but real strong class. I know a lot of people, in social media as I was going through last night, Demetrius, are real disappointed about Lakia Henry opting to go to Ole Miss. Adonis Ote flipping from Arkansas, opting to pledge with the University of USC, and also later that evening at 4 o'clock, Chris Russell chose to sign on and attend College Station with the Texas A&M Aggies. Those were all things that I'm of the belief you didn't lose anything that you never had. And with that being said, Henry and Russell were never committed to the University of Arkansas, and Adonis just was a commitment. There was never a signature, and I get it. I read a lot of social media flack toward the young man. It's a decision, fans. It's not that difficult. It's a kid's decision, and you support that. Chad made a statement, Demetrius, and it really resonated. If I have to beg you to come, I'm gonna have to beg you to play on third down, and I'm not gonna do that. That's the way you need to listen. If your head coach, it's not all up in arms. I mean, you're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some. This is the recruiting game. There's over 100 and some odd schools, 25 scholarships to each school. People are not always going to want to be Razorbacks, Demetrius. Arkansas is going to flip some kids, as they did in the late period by flipping Greg Brooks from Mississippi State over to Arkansas. So be mindful when you're sending out negative messages at these young men. They're 18. It's their first decision. Be mindful of that, because Arkansas is flipping as it's being done to them. That's just part of it. I mean, don't you think, Demetrius? That's just part of the game. You're going to get some to flip, and some are going to flip on you.
Oh, for sure, it's like business. You win some, you lose some. Some you're gonna take L, and then sometimes you're gonna hit the jackpot.
Take an L, huh? Yeah, so how they do it now, they throw up the L for taking the L.
I just commend what I really commend Chad Morris on is being in the conversation with some of these 5-star guys.
Absolutely.
I think that's where the actual branding and promotion comes from. Even if these 5-star guys don't necessarily come to Arkansas, just having these guys put them in their top 5 ranking, I think brings awareness to younger guys and the younger generation of these guys in schools like the Phoenix City in Alabama. I think those are the type of impacts that you see when guys have Arkansas in their top 5, regardless of their 2-10 record.
Absolutely.
I think that's really what I can commend Chad Morris on. I can say firsthand the type of things that he will go out of his way to do. He wrote us personal Christmas cards and signed them himself. So I think little things like that, you're really starting to see.
And they go a long way.
You're really starting to see his work really come out on the recruiting end.
Well, we caught up. Arkansas's women will be traveling to Baton Rouge to take on the LSU Tigers tonight. Tip off 7 p.m. You can also catch that ball game for all Hall fans and viewers. You can catch that on the SEC Network. Arkansas 5-4 in the SEC, looking to get their 6th win. In the SEC, women's basketball is going to take 9. That seems to always be the magic number, 9 wins. So Arkansas needs to hopefully get this one on the road. I really feel like this is going to be a tough game, but we caught up with Coach Mike Neighbors, and there's some things Coach feels they could do a lot better. And, he looks back at some things also to get a better perspective of just where this program's at. And then we'll come back and we'll wrap this thing up. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479.
First, that was awesome. I'm a huge Razorback fan, so it was great to see Coach Anderson, those guys pull that one out last night. Exciting game. But LSU, coming off a huge win over who did I watch them play the other night? They were playing Missouri. Huge win over Missouri at home. Got them right back into the thick of NCAA tournament talks and really close to us in the standings. So going to have kind of a postseason atmosphere, I hope, down there in Baton Rouge.
Look at where you guys are right now and trying to finish games. How do you adjust to make sure that you're fresh-legged or whatever you need to be at the end?
It's a really weird balance of being ready and being rested and not rested. So I think we got it wrong last week. I think we'll get it right this week. Probably a little bit too long in shoot around. Probably a little bit too many reps for Mal in preparation. We started yesterday with bringing that back a little bit. Factor in on the road. I didn't do a really good job of factoring in that 3 games in 6 days. I think we did a good job of managing it during the time, but I didn't do a very good job of managing the part after it. Probably should have had a little bit more of a break. And, when you're in one possession games, boy, you go back and you get really critical of yourself and everything that you do. So I think we'll do it right this week. It starts in practice and it carries over all the way through the game. We may have to take some timeouts to rest. May have to take a timeout even when we don't momentum-wise need one. Just got to use better judgment in managing the game.
The promising, situations you put yourself in.
I
mean, you talked about how tough this stretch was going to be, but to see where you guys were and had the leads you guys have had those last 2 losses.
It was awesome. I went back yesterday, and you do these exercises as a coach sometimes to try to gain perspective because it's easy to lose it. I wrote down our games last year versus all of our opponents and how we're doing this year. That was a pretty cool exercise when you lose by nearly 50 at South Carolina and you're in a 1-possession game with them this year. You're never really close with Georgia, and you are close with them now. It goes way back. People we've been losing to were beating. People that were crushing us were playing closer. So I think continuing to do what we've talked about all year long, being very realistic about what you're doing. South Carolina is a team that's been there and done that. And we're putting ourselves in a closer position than we have been in the past. So I think we've got to continue to celebrate those things while you're trying to change the result as well.
You look back at IT.
Welcome back. It's our February 7th edition. It's our Thursday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio as we come to you each and every day here on Sauced Up Radio, KDSJ 479. Be sure and tune in each and every day from 1 to 2 p.m. As we love to bring you all SEC and all Razorback coverage each and every day. And the thing that I like about our show, Demetrius, as we podcast, you can catch these shows on podcast if you don't get a chance to listen to us here live. You can catch it on our YouTube page, On the Hill with Pat Jenkins. You can also catch us on our Facebook page, On the Hill Sports Talk, as we're on here each and every day for our podcast. Or you can catch us on iHeartRadio, On the Hill Sports Talk each and every day. We love to bring all information to you. And today was a day that we want to do a lot of recap. If you ever, you can also reach us here, 479-601-7400 daily with any questions you may have. But, before we close this thing out, I want to give a thank you to my sponsors, our sponsors, I should say, Lindsay & Associates with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers, the Baymont Hotel. It's located at 735 South Shiloh Drive in Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall. Big thank you to all our sponsors. It would not be possible. But before we close this out, you heard audio from Coach Morris talking about the recap of National Signing Day, Monte Spivey, his reasons why he stayed pledged to the University of Arkansas and signed yesterday morning at 8:30 in his at his school. Also, too, you heard Coach Mike Anderson, player interviews from Daniel Gafford, sophomore center, freshman shooting guard, Keyshawn Embry-Smith, head coach Mike Anderson, future defensive tackle Marcus Bubba Miller, all those audios, and head women's basketball coach Mike Navers as he got you ready for tonight's tip-off. That's going to do it. But before I get out of here, I want to do a real quick two-part question. We got a few minutes. Give me an offensive player, Demetrius, in this freshman class that you think is going to stand out, and give me a defensive player. And I'll call out all offensive players to you because I'm going to do you right.
Nah, I already know who I'm going to say.
Okay, who you going to say?
You already know Spivey.
You a Spivey guy. I'm going Spivey, too. I'm going Spivey. I think he's going to – we got to come up – let's come up with a second one. Just get two offense, two defense.
Trey Knox.
Traylon Burks. I'll go Burks.
All right.
I'll go Burks. Now defensive. Who you got? I got Devin Bush. And I have Enoch Jackson Jr.
I'm going to go Bubba and the new linebacker.
Okay, Zach Simons. All right, well, you heard it here, and you know what tomorrow is as we get you ready for all sports. Arkansas will be hosting the Tyson Invitational. A big, everybody knows about that track, don't they, Demetrius?
Yeah.
I think Demetrius and I will be out there to cover both Friday and Saturday. We'll have updates also to Arkansas travels to LSU. But we're on our way to catch up Coach Jay. He's going to be previewing this South Carolina ball game. We'll have all audio on tomorrow's show as well as much, much more. It's on the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. You guys have a blessed one.
This is what we all dream about as kids, to come out here and sign to the next level, and now that it's made reality, I mean, it's a blessing. And I'm happy for everybody here to be able to sign and go on to the next level, and I'm ready to get started and ready to go to Fayetteville and get my journey started with these two brothers right here. So I'm happy for all of them, and I'm happy for my two guys right here, everybody in Mansfield, and we're ready to get popping in Fayetteville. So I'm really, truly excited for the future. How excited are you to get a chance to go with I mean, that's just a comfortable feeling, We grew up with each other, and to know that we're gonna be with each other for another 4 years, I mean, you can't put a price on that. You can't put words on it. I mean, it's just something you can't explain. And then we're just so excited to go to a program that we know we can change and better. And with the talent that we have here, I mean, I feel like we can go and change it real quickly. So we're really excited, and we just can't wait to get to Fayetteville. How hard was it to sit out this year, knowing that you're still going to school here? It was a tough deal, I trained so hard, worked hard for my senior year, and to know that I couldn't play was a tough deal. But at the same time, everything happens for a reason, so I trust in God, and I just humble myself, and I got around people that really were going to motivate me to keep pushing, and that was a key for me to go and get through this whole entire process. So I'm still going through it one day at a time, but it's all in God's hands, and I just keep my faith with Him. Morris happy for it. It's a great day to be a Razorback. That's all I gotta say. For sure. Based off of what everything's going on in Fayetteville right now. Right now, my focus is getting to Fayetteville, play football. But if baseball is something that happens, then it'll happen. So we'll get all that figured out if that's something.